Listen, your issues are stored in your tissues, and that can come out in so many different ways. Yes, your chronic pain, your burnout, your autoimmune disease, your headaches, your plantar fasciitis, your pelvic floor dysfunction. I know it seems wild, but I'm so excited for today. Eek! I have on guest Tiffany Carter. She's a top podcast host. She's a business coach. She's doing all the things, and she has agreed to come on and tell her story. We've worked together on some stuff, so you'll hear parts that, she agreed to be open and honest, allowing me to share, allowing her to share, and we just get deep. So I just want to warn you of that. Like, there's a traumatic story, there's some cuss words, and it is so good, but I know so many of you need to hear this, and I'm so excited for it. So please, we're on YouTube if you want to watch the conversation, or just keep listening. Let's get into it. Welcome, butthole breathers. How are we doing today? Tiffany, are you breathing through your butthole?
I am now. I noticed that I have a tight sphincter. And then whenever you say that, I have to consciously make it relax. Is that weird?
No, I got told by the colon hydrotherapist that I have the tightest butthole she's ever seen. She wanted to use the kids' speculum with me. And I was like, first of all, this is uncomfortable to begin with. But I mean, is that a compliment? I don't know.
I feel like, I could put it on my LinkedIn. Maybe it'd get me an extra client.
Tight butthole. But yeah, I mean, that just shows like you're holding your breath probably. So that's not helping. And you can't even access that area of your pelvic floor, which we'll get into.
Truly, I was doing a bunch of copyright edits before I came on with you. And I notice that I hold my breath when I'm doing high concentrated activities, like writing or reading a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you'll hear me go, and then I'm like, oh my God, how long have I not been breathing for? And it's so weird. It's like, I'm a pretty good multitasker, but what is it? I can't type and breathe at the same time. Like, why do I do that?
So many of us do that. It's uncommon, but it's not good. And awareness is key. Is like you're already step one of, hey, I'm holding my breath. And then just every time you look at your computer or type or look at your phone, just breathe because that is probably contributing to your brain fog too.
Definitely. And something that you and I've talked about that I've noticed is that if I am not being compliant with the exercises that you've given me, then my symptoms start to come back. But I already know this. And what's so wild is why would I not make it a priority to do, in this case, my press ups? Even though I go to the gym all the time, I do yoga, I go on
Mhm,
walks.
mhm.
Why would I not make it a priority to do something that literally takes 3 minutes? And I know I already have proof that I have results, and I already have proof of the consequences of not doing it. And I know I'm not alone
Oh, this is
in
so
this.
common. This is
But,
so common.
we should don't you think we need to, unpack this? Because something's unwell about it.
Yeah, I think we definitely should. What's your gut instinct? What do you tell yourself why when you feel that pain or discomfort? Why don't you do the press ups? What are you telling
Oh,
yourself?
when I'm in pain, I will. That's why I always say, pain is our biggest motivator, but ideally, we don't wanna have to wait till we get in
Right.
pain to be motivated. So when I'm in pain, we're already too late, so to speak,
Yep.
right?
So what
Then I
about
will do it.
when you're sitting there, you podcast, you sit at the computer, for hours, which her podcast is. Go for it.
Project Me with Tiffany Carter. It's top 5 worldwide. It's on all the things.
It's hilarious and awesome. Talk about real and raw. You have to go check it out. The link will be in the show notes. But when you're sitting there, why don't you like when you go get water, why don't you do a couple press ups on the couch or a couple back bends? What's stopping you for 20 seconds?
What I tell myself is, "I'll do it later." Or I'll even say, to be honest with you, I don't really want to. And I feel like I have so many things that I have to do on a daily and weekly basis as it is. So many things to remember, so many things to check off, so many responsibilities. And I'm like, I'm behind already on so many of them that I'm like, this is just another thing I have to do. And truly, I feel like I'm almost like rebelling against it. I mean, if
Uh,
we want to really go deep here,
yeah. Yeah.
right? It's
I
like
love
I'm
it.
rebelling against it because it's like a yet another thing I have to do. It's just so wild to me because, obviously I teach on a lot of mindset stuff, more so
Mhm.
like in the money world, but it is strange when you know something works. It's like people know you're amazing at what you do. And if you're going to give them exercises, they know you're not going to waste their time. You're not giving them busy work.
Right.
They work. They're coming from a highly credible person with the gazillion proven like results of all different types of people. Yet I'm sure I'm not your only person who doesn't do them.
No, and this is so common. That's why so you said earlier, why do you feel like it's not a priority then? Why is not feeling good and performing at your best your priority?
Mhm. It's unfamiliar. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Mhm.
I have, ooh, this is going deep.
I like it.
I have never, as someone who is a survivor of extreme sexual abuse, a trauma survivor, I speak, openly and publicly about it. I have never felt good and truly relaxed my body. I'll have moments, right? Like after a treatment, after a massage, a spa day, while like floating around in my pool, right? So
Mhm.
I will have those time periods where I have that, but like a lasting feeling good in my body where I'm not sore, I'm not tight, I'm not crunchy, I'm not stiff, where I feel light, I'm not inflamed. I do not know truly what that feels like. I've never experienced it. It's more familiar for me to be not breathing through my butthole, for me to
Mm.
be like, shh.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because then when you're in that state, I mean, and this is, proven science about how trauma is stored in our, in our tissues and our joints and all
Mhm.
of that. You're bracing for impact, right? And when you
Mm.
brace for impact and like you put your hands up, you're like in a fighting stance and you're bracing, you're like stiff, right?
Mhm.
And for me to like walk around and run errands and like go about my day in the world, in the scary world that we're in, loosey goosey, I think that is so unfamiliar to me that I don't even know what life would be like.
Yeah. No, I get that, and I think a lot of people will understand that, and I also to add on to that, what do you think of this? It's also I'm addicted personally to the grind, to the dirty diaper, like the hustle. And when you reach a goal, when you feel better, you're almost like, ooh, like you said, the familiarity. This is so uncomfortable for me. Like, I don't even know how to receive and sit in the clean diaper, the fresh new one that we put on, get me back to the dirty diaper. It's almost like you said, familiarity, but our nervous systems, there is science, like you said, on this too, of wants to go with what it knows. It's comfortable in that fight or flight. It doesn't know how to react and, like, relax.
Yeah, that makes sense because when it comes to like money and success, I've gotten a lot better at that because I paid the price for never sitting in it, never celebrating, right? Like I've paid such a huge price of literally almost losing my life from
Mhm.
having my body's adrenal system shut down.
Yep.
And I had to carry rescue cortisol with me. So without cortisol, you go into cardiac arrest.
Mhm.
And I had no quality of life. I had a shower sitting down. People had to go to the grocery store for me. That was before like Instacart and stuff. And I experienced what it was like to have no quality of life. So I have such a high memory, right, of that, that in that area of my life, I will not go back to. But when it comes to my physical body and feeling light and free, and if we want to even go a level further, even loving how I look,
Mhm.
my body, where I'm like, "Ooh, I'm lean. I love like, I look strong and I look lean and I'm snatched."
Mhm.
That's even an that I've never really allowed myself to get to. Some, you know how, like, on Facebook, which I'm rarely on, but you know how they have, like, your memories pop up?
Yes.
And since Facebook is, like, old, you'll have
Mhm.
shit from a long time ago.
Mhm.
And there was something, like, came up, like, 2013, and, I was in the throes of my workout addiction at, like, probably, like, my 2nd kickboxing class of the day, kind of a vibe, and a picture of me, like, came up, like, holding, like, my arm up, and I was like, I looked really, really good, and I know that I thought I was not happy with how I looked then. And I was probably, I mean, if we wanna look at it in terms of, like, sizes, just so, like, people can get a visual, 4 sizes smaller, and I'm not saying sizes smaller means that you're healthier. I was not
Oh,
healthy. I
no.
was
No.
very mentally unwell,
Mhm.
and taking supplements and injecting myself with HCG and taking some, like, off-market metabolic enhancer for horses.
You're trying it all.
And I was like, "Isn't that interesting?" Even
Mhm.
when I look back now and go, "Wow, beautifully lean, all the definition, what I would, like, love to look like right now." And I thought that I still wasn't comfortable in my body. I still thought I had a long way to go. I've never let myself exhale when it comes to my body and how I feel in it and how I look in it, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Can't sit in the clean diaper and enjoy
No.
and let it relax.
I think I'm afraid if I enjoy what I see, it might go away.
Mhm.
Something might happen. I think it's just because it's so unfamiliar to me, and
Mhm.
unfamiliar reads to our nervous system
Yep.
as being dangerous.
Yep. So you go into
And
fight or
if we
flight and trauma.
I mean, and if there's any psychotherapists listening, if we really wanna go deep, when my body was in its most, I guess we could call it pure and youthful state, it was heavily violated,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, so it never
So
wants to go back.
exactly. So there's gotta be something with that where there's an imprint in there of if I were to say, like, when did I feel like not stiff, crunchy, had no pain in my body? Well, obviously, it was when I was, like, really, really young, like a kid.
Mhm.
A
Mhm.
kid and in, like, high school and college, and I was being, molested from 11 to 21 years old, all
Mhm.
during that time.
Mhm.
So I think it is that deep. I don't know, you
Oh,
tell
for
me, you're the
sure.
doctor.
Oh, absolutely. It's for sure that deep, and I think that contributes to some of the other stuff which you gave permission free to talk about, the pelvic floor dysfunction, other pain in your body, low back, hip flexor stuff. It's not all just the muscular stuff. Of course, we need to address that, but we need to address the stress component, whether that be good stress of getting the success and being there, or the bad stress of, hey, there's been trauma here. That I don't feel like is talked enough. And I know you're in LA and you've been to a lot of doctors. So maybe you can speak on that. Do you think we're connecting the dots there, or are we missing that a lot?
I think that it's starting to happen, but there's not enough, especially female practitioners speaking on this. I think it is a subject that it has such depth to it that
Mhm,
people wanna kind of avoid because, I
mhm,
mean, if we're bottom lining it, a lot of patients and potential patients, they just want you to, like, manipulate their muscles, give them exercises, and
mhm,
crack their bones.
mhm,
They do not want to have to go beneath the surface to the root cause because now they have to, like, go back and address some of these things and
mhm,
do some inner work,
mhm,
and people want to avoid that, so then they continue doing all the band-aiding. They'll take the Tylenol, they'll take the opiates,
mhm,
they'll go on the Ozempic, they will, they'll come to you over and over and over again with the same problem, and they could have been doing so much better, but they're not compliant, or they come
Mhm.
see you and then they disappear for 2 years, or they get a
Mhm.
surgery.
Mhm.
I mean, remember, I just got surgery.
Yep. Yep.
You've
And surgery doesn't
honestly,
always
you
work.
saved my ass. Like,
Oh.
and I went and I like you said, it was good that I got, the X-rays and the
Mhm.
MRIs, so we saw what we were dealing with, and there is a giant bone fragment, if that's the right term, that's in there. It was floating around, right? But
Mhm.
it's like, and these are 2 top Los Angeles sports performance, right, orthopedic surgeons. Listen, my other agency is in digital marketing in the pharmaceutical and medical space, right? They have to cut to make money, right? And
Mhm.
it's not
Mm.
like they would be doing malpractice by,
Mhm.
operating, like, it
Mhm.
probably would help, but, like, I don't wanna have fucking surgery.
Right, and that bone fragment, of course, we wanna note that, and we wanna have that in the back of our mind, but with everything else, we gotta look, what is the root cause? Is it that actual bone fragment in there? And for you, it wasn't.
Definitely not. Obviously not. But
Mhm.
if I am not compliant
Mhm.
with building strength, which I'm
Mhm.
doing,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And if I am too loosey goosey with exercises you gave me,
Mhm.
I definitely start feeling like the tension in my knees, like building for sure.
Mhm. And then have you noticed when we all have like a stressful response or we're going back falling in some of our old patterns that we worked through with stress, with the trauma. Do you notice it getting worse then too?
Oh, without a doubt, because I
Mhm.
do a lot of inner work. I'm in a support community for survivors of sexual
Mhm.
abuse. I mean, I've been in a million years of therapy and all of that, but like there's continue work when you have complex PTSD. So when it's
Absolutely.
ignited, and like being someone who, it's not like I'm famous, but I guess you could call me like a public figure. And these haters and stuff that, some of that stuff that happens, or you get like, because I work with so many students and so many of my programs, like the
Mhm.
other day, 1 to 3% of people are crazy. And that
Oh,
is an
I would
actual,
say
like,
there's more.
I mean, in terms of like in business, right? Like
Oh,
any type
yes,
of
got it.
business
Yeah.
and any type of, even like if you look at a social media following, or even if you own a restaurant,
Mhm.
you're going to get Yelp reviews for the best restaurant in the world. What I'm like, that are bad. Like, so are you. Like, you're
Yeah.
amazing, but there's going to be someone, no matter how amazing you are, these are people who are never satisfied, right? And this
Mhm.
person wrote some whole thing like, Tiffany Carter's a fraud. She's not as authentic as she seems.
Oh
And
gosh.
I was able to like let it go,
Mhm.
but it took a couple hours. It didn't reel me the whole day, but my whole system tightened totally back up. And then, right, I start experiencing symptoms, right? Like, then, like, if I mean, I didn't sneeze, but I knew if I did sneeze, I'd probably pee a little bit.
Mhm. Because it just ignited everything and you were so tight. Yeah, you weren't able to correctly activate, breathe, and relax where that would be safe.
Yeah, and when I'm in not even, it doesn't even have to be a fully relaxed state, but like a grounded state, I don't have all these pelvic floor symptoms.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's definitely tied to when there's some kind of a stress response in me,
Mhm.
or I'm being lazy about like good practices and habits, and I'm trying to get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back for the butthole breathers. You were talking about you've been through burnout and the illness and stuff. How did you get there? And what was the whole process of that for you, development wise?
Really, for everyone, in my opinion, and in working with over 150,000 people worldwide, many of whom have experienced trauma or dysfunctional childhoods, or a toxic relationship of sorts, that fight or flight response can start very young for some people. And mine obviously started very young. So like you told me, like you have muscle memory. To think
Mhm.
that my muscles don't have memory
Oh, that's
in that
nice.
area,
Mhm.
especially with the level of abuse that I endured, and how often and for how long.
Mhm.
There's no way they weren't taught that. So I was always in that fight or flight, and it started so young that that was normal to me. And then when you're in college, in my opinion, like college wasn't easy for me. I had to like really, really, really study. I'm not like
Mhm.
naturally book smart like you. So in college, there's also kind of that fight or flight too, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh my God, am I going to pass? I have to study. And then of course I procrastinated. Then I'm doing papers at the last minute. So then there's that. And
Mhm.
then when I was a TV newscaster. I mean, I don't even need to say any more than that. Think of how
Mhm.
stressful that environment is. And that felt so normal to me to be in those environments. Anything less than that extreme, tense, high, go, go, go felt like I was doing something wrong. I wasn't going to be successful. I was lazy. I wasn't productive. Like, I saw anyone else who wasn't operating at my level, quite frankly, I was very judgy. I wouldn't maybe say it to them, but I would think it like, "This person's a lazy ass."
Mhm.
Meanwhile, they were probably healthy,
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
was and I was crazy, you know, and so, running that long, then from there, I got into a career in pharmaceutical sales, tons of travel, any kind of sales, right?
Mhm.
You know, you gotta meet your sales numbers,
Mhm.
now you have
And then you gotta
more
do
of that.
better. Yep.
Right, and, like, the corporate world feeds off that. They want people like us, right? Because 'Cause
Mhm.
we're the people who grind it out and volunteer and keep going and make all the money, and I personally think, and I'm curious if you notice this clinically, I personally think you can pull off that kinda lifestyle until about 35 years old tops. Like, where you can pull off really, really going
Mhm.
that as hard as I did before the wheels really start falling off the bus. Like, you can only run an engine of a car so long and so hard before some shit happens, right?
Yep.
And if I'm being really honest, I would say my early 30s things were starting to fall off, and then what I did is I would supplement with more caffeine, do the Red Bulls, do some other substances.
Whatever it takes, right?
I I literally would say that.
Mhm.
I'd go, "Whatever, I've gotta keep going. I don't have," I'd say, "I don't have a choice. I have to
Mhm.
keep going, whatever it took."
Mhm.
And so I did. I took what was the drug? Phentermine?
Oh,
Some people listening will
amphetamine.
remember. It's a
Yeah.
prescription drug.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it's for. I think it's one
It's a
half of fen-phen.
yeah.
I
It's
don't
like
remember.
I think it was a weight loss speed drug.
I mean, it was basically legal speed, and
Mhm.
then, oh, the holy grail was Provigil, which is for narcolepsy.
Mm.
Oh, man, and I took that for a long time.
Yep.
So really, the wheels were falling off the bus much earlier, but I was masking it with sugar, and then on top of it, I had an exercise addiction, which is a
Mhm.
eating disorder, and I
Mhm.
was doing two-a-day workouts and, like, just burning it out. Finally, my body totally gave out, like, to where I was like, "Do I thought I had mono?" I'm like,
Mhm.
I it was immobile, and I had to take my business that I had built from scratch, which I know that deal,
Yep.
the hard way, unlike
Mhm.
my podcast and, like, my second business is done the easy way. I had to bring it down by 90%. I had to let go of clients because it was better for me to let them go than for me to fuck up,
Right,
right? Because you can't
exactly.
get your
No.
reputation back.
No.
I put them in, like, hands of good people,
Right.
so I took it down to where my bare bones costs, like my mortgage and stuff was being
Mhm.
paid. It took me a year and a half before I could noticeably function better.
Mm.
I
Yep.
was so sick, and I was put on birth control because of what was happening to me since 15 years old,
Mhm.
and I never had a break from it.
Mhm.
So I had so much going on, taxing my body, obviously the
Oh, yeah.
chemicals in our food, right?
Mhm.
And everything else, and my system shut down, and I almost died. I mean, when I don't even know how I drove to this doctor, and I wanted to get my levels, like my cortisol levels. He had all the stuff done. And he was like, "Did you drive here?" And I was, of course, being in self-will. And I was like, "Well, yeah." And he's
Oh,
like, "You should not have driven here." He's like, "You look like a ghost." And he's like, "And I'm admitting you to the hospital. Like, you're gonna go into cardiac arrest. Like, we need to get like, you have
mhm,
no cortisol."
mhm.
And I was like, "I think I can make it through."
You're like, "I got this." Oh, I know. It's that push, push, push.
But I had no push left in me, and I really think that's important. I know there has to be someone listening who's resonating when you knew you could, like, I could even feel it. I call it an inner drugstore.
Mhm,
I could pull out of me when I needed to, like that last mile of a race. And I could pull it from within me, and I could get a surge, which I now know is like adrenaline, right? I'm like borrowing from something I shouldn't be borrowing from.
you know I relate to all this.
And I would pull from it to get through that. And I was able to for a lot of my life. And then one day it was not there anymore. I couldn't get it. And I panicked like a drug. I mean, I panicked. I couldn't, I could literally feeling myself trying to like grab it, and
Mhm.
I couldn't get it, and none of the things were working,
Yep.
and it was done, and I had to learn an entire new way of life, not being dependent on it, and I grieved that old way for quite a few years. I would say, like, "Ugh, I wish I could be the old Tiffany. She got so much done."
I know. I feel you right there. It's hard.
Yeah, but she's gone. I mean, I get enough done now is what I
Mhm,
say,
mhm,
right? I don't need to get done what I thought I had to get done before.
mhm.
I This is how much of a psychopath I was, just so everyone is clear.
All the butthole breathers can hear.
Yeah, just so okay. I was one of those people who I love a magazine. I still love a magazine. I want the magazines to come back. I had all, of course, being an exercise addict, Shape magazine, Muscle and Fitness magazine,
Mhm.
Self magazine, all those. And they all say the same shit, but I was subscribed to all of them. I even made it a task that I had to read those. So if there was a buildup of magazines for me traveling for work, I had to read the magazines. Or else what? Or else I was
Yep.
wasteful, or I
Yep.
had to read them. And then I would, and I felt, like, very accomplished in doing
Mhm,
so. Like, things that weren't important, I made important.
mhm. Yeah. It's pretty messed up when we say it out loud what our beliefs were in our head going back
Yeah,
to
I
that.
mean, it makes so much sense, and now when I see other clients come to me now, or even friends, or even I witnessed strangers, or even
Mhm,
celebrities, like, on social media, and
mhm,
I see the old Tiffany,
mhm.
always, like, once in a while, it'll trigger me.
Yep.
'Cause especially if they're getting a lot of stuff done, it's kinda like,
It's an addiction. It's a high.
yeah, it's like, "Oh, like, that old Tiffany, she, like, went to every party and showed up at every event and got
Yep.
everything done and did da 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 da." But usually now my response is, "Ugh, I hope they don't have to hit the rock bottom I did
Mhm,
in order to change this." But it's an addiction, and likely they're gonna have to hit
mhm,
the bottom.
mhm. Oh, yeah. I see it in patients too. It's like and I can warn you and tell you, but we all gotta experience some stuff ourselves. Just like, hey, this back issue, it can lead to other things like plantar fasciitis or peeing yourself, all these other things that if we let this go, well, it's not bad enough yet. So if you're not gonna get help or do anything about it, like there's only so much I can do and tell you.
As much as I was so upset about my knee, I was so upset because it was obvious, besides the pain, right? Like, I like doing lots of activities
Mhm, mhm,
and exercising and all of that. And then all of my eating disorder brain comes back. Well, I'm not being physical and I'm going to gain all this
mhm,
weight. And that came up. And as much as I was so mad that that happened, I'm now happy it happened because now I have a definite like pain imprint and
Mhm.
I never want to go back to that.
Mhm.
And that is what motivates me to get my ish together when
Mhm.
I start kind of slacking.
Mhm.
You know, my brain has like an auto response now, like, hey, remember
Yep.
that price was major.
Mhm.
Because I gained, I mean, you and I are both pretty tall. So,
Mhm.
like, if we gain weight, it's like we'd have to gain a lot. And like, we can carry a little, like
Mhm.
10 extra
Mhm.
pounds, right? I definitely gained 12 pounds when that happened,
Mm. And you
you
felt
know,
it.
and right, which of course just compounds everything, weight,
Oh,
extra weight.
yeah.
And so my ego doesn't want that to happen again.
Mhm.
And then on top of the pain. So in a way, it's good that it's happened because now it's forcing me to make sure I'm much more mindful and prioritizing my health.
Mhm. That's so true. And part of your treatment plan, which is something you're really good at and you talk about too, that you need to do less in general for your business, but let's apply it to your body. And like when you're going through all that, I talk about the 30-second reset. What are some things that you did that you found that like bring you joy and that you find really relaxing to give some people the idea? Is that
What I love sharing with people is this amazing thing that happened to me when I left a relationship. And it wasn't like an abusive relationship, but it was just like a draining relationship. And I got a beach house, so I moved somewhere that was more active. It was, like, in 2021, so still
Mhm.
pandemic times, and I was like,
Mhm.
I was cooped up. I'm like, "I
Mhm.
need to be out. I need this is not working
Yeah.
for me." Right? So I prioritized that even though it cost me a lot of money, and the gyms weren't open. That was the first time in my life, because I was in sports and stuff. I'm a gym rat, that I wasn't in a gym. So that was like a weird identity,
Yep.
social, weird crisis for me. And I just started walking. That's all I did. I didn't even change my diet and walking and walking and walking and walking. And I looked better than I had in years.
It's huge.
And I
One of the
used to
best things
go,
we can do.
that's crazy. And when people used to ask me, like, hey, let's go for a walk, I'd roll my eyes like, that doesn't burn enough calories. I'm not
Mhm.
going.
Mhm.
So that was proof to me that you don't have to be doing, in fact, it maybe isn't good for me to be doing those like hard pounding, like cycle classes and all that shit.
I mean, when your nervous system is already overworked, burnout in that fight or flight state, yeah, you don't need to be doing the hit workouts, but we love them because I like, and I know you do too, your lungs burning. It feels like you did something,
And I
but
like the
actually that's
orphan
counterproductive.
bus.
Yep. Oh yeah, that high. But it's like actually counterproductive because then fast forward a couple hours, you feel like absolute dog shit. And then you just repeat the cycle and over. That's like worse on your hormones, worse on your, norepinephrine, like go through the whole thing. And then your body doesn't even have the chance to quality heal yourself. Your sleep goes down the drain. And it's just a recipe for disaster, pain, injuries, all the things.
So it's like a cascading effect,
Mhm.
but it
Everything's connected.
goes, but it goes against what so many of us were taught,
Yep.
which is like you gotta like hit the gym and hit the weights and you gotta
Mhm.
do like I'm from like the boot camp era,
Oh, yeah.
like and so it goes against all the propaganda and all the stuff that we were taught. And it's what I teach when it comes to making money and
Mhm.
abundance and business is like less really is more.
It is. It is.
But so many people can't wrap their brain around it, and what I say is, how about experimenting with it? You don't
Mhm.
have to, like, stay doing it,
Mhm.
but, like, why not do a 30-day experiment
Yeah.
and see what
And
happens?
then what I think people get to, like, with the business stuff and with what I'm saying, because like, I'll give you one exercise. I don't need to give you a bunch, but we might tweak, "Hey, go for a walk." Like, let's do the 30-second reset. Doesn't have I'm not gonna try to take up your whole day of a workout. And same with the business. "Oh, less. I'm gonna do nothing." No, no, you gotta show up and you gotta commit. You can't just not do anything, but, like, You don't have to work the 14-hour days, and then you don't have to do exercises 800 times a day that take an hour each.
Right, I'm saying right, we're saying less, we're never said nothing, right?
Mhm.
But that extreme is also not sustainable in any area of life. I have a friend of mine and he is notorious for this pattern, like the is like eating, keto and is doing all the exercise and then he's feeling great and he's on a high from it and it's the same thing. And then 4 weeks later, he's crashed eating pizza, not moving, and round and round and round he goes, and that's that all or nothing. It, like, doesn't work in any area of life because there's no consistency in it.
Mhm. Mhm.
What's sustainable? Is it sustainable to work out at the level I was working out? It was at that age, it was sustainable and with all the crutches I use, but would
Mhm.
that be sustainable now?
Mhm. Mhm.
No.
Mhm.
I don't even wanna do it now.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, I get it. So, with that, what do you think we're gonna go deep again? Because you did this. It took you a minute to be like, "Okay, I'm gonna use you, and we're gonna figure this out." And you didn't wanna get a game plan, whatever. You went straight to the highest way, best way to work with me or my team. Why do you think people are like, "Oh, I want this. They listen to this podcast. Okay, I need to do something." But then, like, what is the trigger that finally got you to be like, "Okay, I'll commit this, or I'll spend this money, or I'll spend this time to work with you virtually and actually do it?" Like, what is that for people, and why do so many people just, "I know I need to, but I don't."
It's never about money, and then there's people that get really triggered when I say that, "Well, you don't
Mhm.
know, you have millions in the bank."
Mhm.
I didn't used to be broke, and I found a way to pay for my nails. I found a
Mhm.
way to pay for whatever I felt I really needed at the time. I am someone where I know that it costs far less to pay for the best and to fuck around with a bunch of free stuff and low hanging stuff or trying to figure it out on your own.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people don't have a worthiness thing deep down that it seems almost like a luxury
Mm.
to get properly treated by a high-end concierge style practitioner or specialist. It
Mhm.
sounds very fancy. It sounds like a luxury. And it's like, well, I can just, do some stretches and like,
Mhm.
YouTube some stuff. But like
Mm.
what the cost factor ends up being so high, and the quality of life factor is so high that I know you gotta just go directly for the thing. I have never spent money on my health, on my business, on my mental well-being that didn't come back to me many times over, whether it was in joy, whether it was in actual cash and clients, opportunities, my mood, my energy, saved me time. But I had to pay the price enough times to know to do that,
Mm, mhm.
and it's just wild to me. It's like, how much longer do you wanna suffer? It's like addicted to suffering.
Mm,
How much longer? And, like, what's the payoff by being in your current state? A lot of people use stuff like their back pain.
mhm.
That's an excuse to get out of certain activities in the
Mhm.
family, out of sex with the husband.
Mhm.
That's how they let themselves off the hook from, like,
Mm,
working out.
mm.
There is a payoff for all of us for doing something repeatedly, even if it's something that, like, isn't serving us.
Absolutely.
It's part of the story, um, like, I had to catch myself today because my, like, actual, like, trainer and my fitness trainer, we joke. He's like, "For someone with such long legs," he's like, "You're, like, the slowest runner," and I am. I'm a terrible runner. I'm a very short gait, and it's like
Uh-huh.
and my dad did too. My dad was 6'4". It's like,
Uh-huh.
I'm just more of like a stroller. It's just how it is.
Casual.
And, we joke about it, and I almost said, "Well, I also have bad knees." And I caught myself because why do I want that to be my story? I
Right,
have
of
bad
course.
knees. You keep telling yourself you have bad knees, you're gonna have bad knees, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's like, so a lot of people are addicted to that story. It
Mhm.
gets them out of certain things. They can pacify themselves with those things. And so then if they come to you and that's taken away, they don't now what's their excuse?
Yep.
What's their excuse now for, getting in shape and, like, losing weight? What's their excuse to rekindle their relationship with their partner, or to
Mhm.
go back to work, or to write the book, or follow the dream, or
Mhm.
whatever all this shit is that they're saying that they wanna do, that this injury or this pain is limiting them, and that's what's going on, and people get
Mhm.
really pissed off when I go down
I
that path.
I love it. It's so true. I know. I've called people out. I'm pretty brutally honest with you too. And it's like, if you want the damn thing, we're gonna have to like work whatever your goals may be. And it's not always gonna be easy or quick. You've been doing these compensation patterns and burning yourself out, whatever it may be, for years and years and years. You're gonna have to give it a little time and a little patience and grace. Meanwhile, we're gonna have fun. I'm gonna make fun of you, and it's gonna be great.
Or you can continue to sit in suffering and compensate for it and live in pain and limit yourself. Do
Yep.
you want a limited life or do you want a limitless life? And that's up to you. And you
Mhm.
can you can blame body parts and old injuries. My mom, which I don't even know if it's true, 'cause she's a narcissist and makes up things. But one of her stories that she always told was that, like, when she was in college, she got hit by an 18-wheeler and she had a bad back. I'm pretty
Oh
sure it's a
gosh,
lie.
yes.
It
Yes.
sounds like a lie. It's like, that just sounds like a lie. No one's ever corroborated the story. And she went every single week to the chiropractor, and she used this back thing more. There was always an excuse with the back,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
my back this, my back that. And
Mhm.
it was like, you know, how much longer do you wanna use it as an excuse? I mean, I see motivational speakers that have no arms and no legs.
Mhm.
There's a guy
Exactly.
I love watching these people on TikTok who have,
Mhm.
like, permanent, like, I don't like, limitations, so to
Yeah,
speak. This guy has 1 arm and no legs and goes live on TikTok walking on the treadmill with no legs.
that's
I
incredible.
love this guy.
Yes.
It's like, and there's this other lady who has, like, no arms, but she has hands that are, like, hands that come out of her shoulders.
Mhm.
She's on there cooking away, using her feet to open jars. Like,
Yep.
that's probably why I like watching it, because
Mm.
they would have an excuse that all of us would buy into.
Yep, but they're not letting themselves.
Exactly. So it's like, it's a choice, is what do you wanna do? Do you wanna continue to sit in that, or do you wanna do something about it? Like,
Mhm.
you gotta stop fucking around
Yep.
or not.
Yeah, or not.
And a lot of people, as we know,
Won't.
they won't do anything. In fact,
Mhm.
98% of people won't.
Yep. Yep. I know. It's crazy because you only get one life. Like, why wouldn't you wanna help yourself?
And that time is non-refundable and it goes so fast. I mean, we're almost halfway through the year already. I don't even know how that happened.
Wow. When you say that, that's insane.
Right? And it's like, do you want to get the most out of your life, or do you just want to be like in survival mode?
Yeah.
I know that's not how I want to roll. Otherwise, why be here?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
truly, for me, I mean, I have to do a lot of work to, like, keep myself in the game of life mentally with
Mhm.
PTSD and stuff,
Mhm.
and it's like, there is no point in me being here. I'm either all in or there's no point.
Mhm.
This life is wild,
It is wild.
and when you have a business, you have responsibilities, you have lots of stuff going on, it's hard enough as it is. Like, I personally feel life is an all-in play or don't bother.
No, I love that. That's so true. Like you said, the game of life, go win
Do
it.
any of your professional athletes you treat, there can't be any other mentality.
Nope.
It's an all in every game, in every practice, or you're not gonna be on that team very long,
And then they've had to
right?
realize, yeah, and then they've had to realize usually it's as they age a little bit, but, like, they have to be all in on taking care of their body and the recovery process, and by like, being like, "Okay, we gotta do this," and then we can even do performance training, and then they see the benefits of, "I'm playing all the games of the year, I'm winning the trophies, I'm breaking my records, I'm feeling good." Like, then they're like, "Okay, like, I get this now. Why didn't I get this when I was younger?" But we all feel invincible when we're young.
Well, and no one really I don't feel people weren't really teaching that, it's like,
Right.
do you wanna be an A player in your life? I mean, all the A players I know in any industry, they have multiple coaches,
Yep.
prioritize their health and their well-being above all else,
Mhm.
because without that, there's, nothing else is happening.
It's a
They call
team, it takes a
themselves
team.
out. Yeah, they have a team. I call it my pit crew. I
Yeah,
have a team, and it's worth every penny, and I spend tens of thousands of dollars a month.
yep,
It's a line item, regular line item on my life in order to be an A player.
yep, and you need that support, and I know you
I
do.
have to have it. It's
Yeah.
vital. Like,
Eh
we're not supposed to do this alone, and you can't do big things alone.
no.
If you want a small life, you could probably pull it off, right? And
Mhm.
some people want a small life, but I don't think anyone listening to this show wants a small life.
No, we wanna do the damn thing and have some fun while we do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're either investing in having an incredible, abundant life and body, or you're making investments of having a broke ass life and a broke down body.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like that. True, and then you're not breathing through your butthole.
And and listen, I know because people in my family live forever, and I'm gonna be here a long time, and I am not
Gotta
gonna
feel
be
like shit.
I wanna be like the 90-year-old something person where, like, I get on, like, TV shows because people are like, "Can you believe this chick? She's still, like, hitting up Coachella. Coachella
Love it.
572."
I love it, I love it. So what's one thing that you think the butthole breathers, like, final thing that you want to leave them with? In general, something you've learned, something that is not talked about enough, whatever it may be in this world of mind your body.
No matter how many exercises and breathing things and stuff that you do, you can't outwork a broken mindset and wounds that you're ignoring. You have
Mhm,
to address those. You cannot go around the pain. You have to go through them. And I know it's scary, but there's no way around it. You'll go around it and fill it with people, places, and things and waste decades of your life where you could have just gone right through the pain and looked it in the eye and processed it, with the right people
mhm,
and come out on the other side. A
mm,
lot of your physical stuff is because of the deeper inner stuff, and you
mhm,
have to address both.
mhm. Oh, I love that. I couldn't have said it better, and I really appreciate you coming on here today, sharing your story, being so raw and vulnerable, because we don't do anything fake ass here. Everything's real.
Yeah, I
So
am not and plus, like, I don't have a voice and neither do you. Like, I can't be fake. Like, I
no.
think if I made it like, a different tone of voice, I could pull it off.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I even try sometimes at the grocery store if I'm, like, in a bitchy mood and they're like, "Oh, like at Trader Joe's, they always comment on the food you put on the belt, which I hate. I
Yes.
know I know
Don't be
they're
so
supposed
judgy.
to, right, and
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, how is that?" Pizza or whatever. I'll be like and then my voice goes, "Oh, I haven't tried it before." I'm like, "What is my voice right
You're
now?"
like, "Who is that?" Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I can't pull it off, and
Oh
it's
my god.
not worth it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Love you.
Love you.